Captain Daniel Carter stood on the bridge of the USS Valor looking out at the vast darkness of space. Earth rotated quietly below, its blue oceans and green lands glowing against the black void. On the surface, people tried to live normal lives, but everyone knew that war could come at any moment. Above them, the fleet waited, lines of human warships spread across orbit, forming a shield of steel and fire. It was a strange calm, one that carried tension in every breath. Soldiers, pilots, and officers walked the corridors of their ships with firm expressions, ready for alarms that could sound at any time. The silence was not peace. It was the kind of silence that came before something dangerous happened. Daniel's hands rested on the railing as he watched the starfield beyond. He was not a man easily shaken. Years of battles with alien raiders had hardened him, but this was different. Rumors had spread across the fleet about strange activity at the edge of the system. Merchant ships reported disappearing, sensors picked up faint distortions, and even the most advanced probes returned with corrupted data. The words, "unknown presence," had appeared in every report, and though analysts dismissed them as errors or tricks by the enemy, Daniel felt something else was out there, waiting. Commander Laura Green stood beside him, scanning her own display. She was sharp, calm, and precise, trusted by everyone on the Valor. "Sensors show clear skies," she said softly, though her tone carried doubt. She too had heard the whispers. No enemy ships in range, no anomalies. Still, it feels strange. Daniel nodded without looking at her. "The quiet is too heavy. The Dravik never let us breathe this long. If they're not here, then something else is." He kept his eyes on the stars, searching for anything that didn't belong. The crew of the Valor moved quietly behind them, their voices low as if speaking too loudly might attract unwanted attention. Below, in the hangar bay, pilots checked their fighters. Ethan Brooks, one of the youngest pilots in the squadron, ran his hand along the wing of his ship. He had flown dozens of drills and small skirmishes, but this was his first time standing in defense of Earth itself. The thought both frightened and inspired him. Other pilots joked quietly, their laughter tight with nervousness. They, too, felt the tension in the air. They were prepared to fight, but no one could explain why the unease seemed sharper today than on other patrols. The Valor floated at the center of the defensive line. It was a heavy warship built for command and endurance. Daniel knew every corner of it, from the humming engines to the steel corridors that carried the lifeblood of humanity's defense. Yet even here, in the heart of human strength, he could not escape the feeling that something unseen was near. His eyes flicked again to the empty void, and his mind replayed the stories of merchant captains swearing they had seen ripples in space, as if a curtain had been disturbed. Some even said a shadow had followed them through the stars. Daniel did not believe in ghosts, but space was wide and full of mysteries, and humanity had only touched a fraction of it. Far across the system, civilian transmissions filled the communication channels. Families whispered to each other about whether they should evacuate cities. Mothers tucked their children in at night with stories of heroes protecting Earth, and governments assured their people that the fleet was strong enough to stop anything. Daniel knew those promises were important, but deep inside, he feared what the unknown might bring. Strength was valuable, but against something no one understood, it might not be enough. Laura leaned closer and lowered her voice. "If the rumors are true and something new is out there, we need to be ready. Unknowns are worse than the enemy we know. At least with the Dravik, we understand how they fight." She turned her eyes to him, searching for reassurance. Daniel's face was carved in stone, but his silence spoke louder than words. He agreed with her more than he wished to admit. Hours passed slowly. The crew moved through their duties with discipline, but even routine tasks felt heavier. Every beep of a console made hearts jump. Every flicker on the sensor screen brought fear it might be the moment the unknown revealed itself. In the mess hall, soldiers ate quickly, speaking in short sentences. Conversations always turned back to the same questions. What was coming, and when would it arrive? Daniel finally broke the silence with an order. "Increase long-range scans. Double the perimeter patrols. If there's something hiding out there, I want to see it before it sees us." His voice was steady, but Laura caught the tension in it. She relayed the command, and soon squadrons of fighters were flying further out, their engines glowing against the dark. Out there, beyond the reach of human eyes, something stirred. Sensors caught faint distortions, but could not lock onto them. Pilots reported glimpses of shadows moving against the stars, yet when they turned to look, nothing was there. Reports came back in fragments, too uncertain to confirm, but too real to dismiss. Daniel stood unmoving, his eyes locked on the black horizon. He did not know when the silence would break, but he knew it would. The stillness of space pressed against him like a weight, every second stretching longer, every breath tighter. The fleet waited, Earth waited, and humanity itself held its breath. When the first ripple in space appeared, small and almost invisible, it was Laura who saw it. Her voice cut through the quiet. "Captain, there." Daniel's eyes narrowed, fixing on the faint distortion. It was not a trick of the screen. Something was out there. The calm before the storm had ended, and the storm itself was finally about to begin. The ripple grew wider, stretching like a wound across the stars. The crew of the Valor stared as something massive pushed its way into view. At first it looked like the void itself was bending, but then plates of shifting metal shimmered and solidified into the shape of a warship. It was enormous, larger than any vessel in the human fleet, its surface rippling with strange patterns that moved like liquid steel. No lights, no markings, no banners. It was a ghost, yet it was real. Laura's breath caught as she whispered, "What is that?" The bridge went silent. Alarms didn't sound because sensors could not even decide what they were seeing. To the computers, the ship was both there and not there, as though reality itself struggled to accept it. Daniel gripped the railing tighter, his eyes fixed on the vessel. He had faced Dravic dreadnoughts, pirate fleets, even ancient orbital weapons left behind by extinct civilizations, but never anything like this. The human fleet immediately raised shields. Torpedo bays opened and fighter squadrons armed their weapons, but no one dared fire the first shot. Pilots like Ethan circled nervously in their fighters, reporting distorted readings and strange interference. The mysterious ship just floated in silence, not moving, not speaking, but its presence was heavier than 1,000 enemy guns. Then the first voice broke the silence, not from the ship, but from the enemy. The Dravic fleet entered the system, their jagged ships emerging from hyperspace in a storm of red energy trails. Cruisers, destroyers, and carriers spread like locusts across the void. Their commander's voice boomed over all channels. "Earth belongs to us. Humans will kneel, or they will burn." The words echoed through civilian and military frequencies, sowing fear across the planet below. Daniel's jaw tightened. He had expected them, but not so soon, not here. Not with this phantom ship watching. "All units," he ordered, his voice firm, "hold formation. Do not engage the unknown. Focus on the Dravic." His orders steadied the crew, but everyone's eyes kept drifting back to the silent stranger. The Dravic ships moved into attack positions. Their energy weapons glowed, their missile bays opened. But even as humanity braced itself for battle, all thoughts returned to the massive shifting vessel that had decloaked from nothingness. Why had it come now? Why had it revealed itself just as the enemy arrived? Was it here to help or to finish what the Dravic started? The stars trembled as the first shots lit up the void. And still, the mysterious ship remained quiet, waiting, as if testing both sides before choosing where its allegiance would fall. The Dravic did not waste time. Their lead cruiser fired a spear of green plasma that cut through the dark and slammed into a human destroyer. The smaller vessel flared with fire, its hull breaking apart as alarms filled the fleet channels. Screams and static echoed before the signal vanished. The enemy commander's voice followed, cold and cruel. "This is your future, humans. One ship after another until your world is ash." Civilians listening on Earth broke into panic. Emergency networks tried to calm the masses, urging people into shelters, but the message of surrender spread faster. Families huddled in basements, children cried as sirens rang across cities. Even in orbit, some officers whispered doubts, wondering if humanity could truly withstand another Dravic assault. Fear was a weapon, and the Dravic wielded it with precision. On the bridge of the Valor, Daniel's voice cut through the despair. "Mute civilian channels. They don't need to hear this." He turned to his crew, eyes burning with determination. "We've fought them before. We'll fight them again. We don't surrender, ever." His words steadied hearts, but the tension remained like a shadow pressing down on everyone. Laura kept her gaze locked on the tactical display. Red enemy markers filled the screen, closing in fast. They're spreading to flank us. They want to surround Earth in one sweep. She adjusted the fleet's formation, sending smaller frigates to intercept. Every move was precise, but the odds were clear. The Dravik outnumbered them, ship for ship, gun for gun. Ethan and his squadron raced out ahead, weaving between incoming fire. His fighters shook as enemy beams passed close enough to melt the edges of his wings. His breathing came fast, but he forced calm into his voice. This is Eagle 2. Targets inbound. We're holding them off. Behind him, the squadron dove into the swarm, firing missiles that tore through enemy interceptors. The Dravik commander broadcast again, mocking. Your courage is wasted. Earth will be ours, and your species will join the long list of failures scattered across the stars. His words carried the weight of history, worlds already conquered, civilizations reduced to ruins. But for humans, the sting of those words only hardened their will. They had heard it before, and they had survived before. Still, Daniel felt the weight of uncertainty. The unknown ship remained silent, drifting at the edge of the battlefield. It neither threatened nor offered help. Its silence was louder than the Dravik's taunts. He couldn't shake the thought that the fate of Earth might not be decided by the enemy's firepower, but by the choice of that silent, mysterious vessel watching the fight unfold. The first clash came like a storm breaking loose. The Dravik unleashed a barrage of plasma fire, their weapons spitting emerald bolts that streaked across the void. Human warships answered with railguns, slugs, and torpedoes, their counterfire tearing through the blackness like lightning. The quiet calm of orbit was gone, replaced by chaos and fire. The Valor shuddered under the impact of a direct hit to its shields. Sparks rained from overhead panels as alarms screamed. Crews scrambled to their stations, hands flying over controls, shouting damage reports. Daniel steadied himself against the railing, his voice cutting through the noise. Hold the line. Return fire with everything we have. Dozens of fighters darted into the fray, weaving between massive warships like angry hornets. Ethan's squadron split into pairs, their engines blazing as they dove at an enemy destroyer. Missiles streaked from their wings, slamming into the Dravik hull. The alien ship staggered, shields flaring, but then its guns roared back. 2 human fighters exploded in brilliant fireballs, their pilots gone in an instant. Ethan clenched his teeth and pushed harder, refusing to break. On another flank, human frigates exchanged brutal fire with Dravik cruisers. One frigate was torn in half by a plasma lance, its remains tumbling toward Earth's atmosphere. Yet the others pressed forward, using their speed to punch torpedoes through weak spots in enemy shields. For every human ship lost, a Dravik vessel paid in blood and steel. Laura's hands raced across her console as she called out updates. Shields at 70%, weapons holding, enemy carrier launching another wave of fighters. Her voice was calm but urgent, her focus absolute. She guided the fleet's formation like a conductor leading an orchestra. Every move meant to keep Earth's defenses alive one moment longer. The battlefield became a storm of explosions. Fire and wreckage drifted between the fleets, pieces of destroyed ships glinting in the light of Earth's sun. Communications crackled with half-finished orders, screams and silence from ships that vanished in flashes of fire. Yet through the chaos, humanity fought with a ferocity the Dravik had not expected. Daniel's eyes flicked once more toward the edge of the fight. The mysterious ship still lingered, silent, untouched, watching as humans and Dravik tore each other apart. Its massive form glowed faintly, like a shadow waiting to move. Daniel's gut twisted. Every second it stayed still made him wonder whether Earth would survive long enough to see its choice. He forced the thought away and pointed to the tactical screen. Target their lead cruiser. Break their line. The Valor's main guns charged, energy humming through the ship's spine. With a thunderous flash, they fired, striking the Dravik vessel dead center. The alien ship erupted, its hull cracking and breaking apart, scattering into the void. For a brief moment, the humans cheered. But the battle was far from over, and the shadow of the silent giant still hung heavy over them all. The mysterious ship shifted at last. Until now, it had been nothing more than a silent observer, its strange hull gleaming faintly as if alive. But as human and Dravik vessels clashed in chaos, the unknown craft pulsed with sudden light. The stars around it seemed to ripple. and then a beam of energy erupted from its side. One Dravic battleship was caught in the blast. Its shields shattered instantly, its hull split open like paper, and within seconds the massive vessel broke apart into flaming wreckage. The battlefield froze. For a heartbeat, both human and Dravic crews stared in disbelief. That single strike had done what usually required an entire fleet barrage. Laura's eyes widened, her voice barely a whisper. That wasn't human technology. Daniel stood motionless, staring at the display as the alien ship continued to glow, its power undeniable. The Dravic reacted first, their fleet pulling back slightly, confused and shaken. Their commander barked orders over open channels, demanding his ships regroup. For once, the arrogance in his tone had cracked. Human crews, equally stunned, could only watch as the mysterious vessel turned slowly, its weapons shifting with impossible precision. Ethan's squadron circled near the Valor, his voice tight with awe. "Did you see that? One shot! Just one shot!" Static filled the channel as pilots spoke over each other, some terrified, others excited, none knowing what it meant. The fighter cockpits felt suddenly small under the shadow of the newcomer. The vessel fired again, another controlled beam that lanced through a Dravic cruiser as if it were made of glass. No wasted shots, no hesitation. Every blast was exact, like the ship had studied Dravic defenses for centuries. Laura turned to Daniel, her voice trembling but steady enough to carry command. "It just saved us. But why? What does it want?" Daniel did not answer. His mind raced, weighing possibilities. Was it an old Earth weapon, something hidden and forgotten? Or was it another species, one humanity had never encountered? Whatever the truth, it had intervened, and its intervention had saved thousands of lives in an instant. Dravic formations broke apart in panic, but they didn't retreat. They fired on the strange ship, green plasma bolts slamming into its hull. The mysterious vessel shimmered, its surface bending and absorbing the energy like ripples on water. And when the barrage ended, it remained untouched, not even scorched. And then it retaliated with a spread of beams that tore through 3 more enemy ships, leaving the void littered with burning wreckage. Cheering erupted on human channels. Pilots shouted encouragement, crews pounded their consoles, morale soaring with every alien ship destroyed by their silent ally. Daniel allowed himself one brief moment of relief, but deep inside, the questions gnawed harder. If this ship could do this alone, then why had it waited? Why reveal itself only now when Earth stood on the brink? The massive craft slowed, drifting closer to the Valor. For a moment, its glowing hull reflected in the Valor's forward windows, bathing the bridge in silver light. Daniel stared into that light, uneasy but unable to look away. Somewhere out there, something had chosen to act, and in that choice, the entire balance of the war had shifted. A sudden burst of static cut through the comms, sharper than any battlefield noise. Then came a voice, broken and distorted, carried across all channels. "Earth, not alone, allies." The words were fragmented, stretched as if spoken through layers of interference, yet every syllable carried weight. Silence followed, so heavy that even the alarms on the Valor seemed muted. For the first time, the mysterious ship had spoken. Laura's head snapped toward Daniel, her eyes wide. "It knows us. It understands us." Her voice trembled with the realization. The bridge crew leaned closer to their consoles, desperate for more, but the signal vanished into static. Daniel's throat tightened. If it was trying to speak, then it wasn't a mindless weapon. Somewhere inside that shifting hull, someone or something was making decisions. Before the crew could process, the unknown vessel moved again, sliding with uncanny grace into the thick of the battle. Its weapons fired in rapid, controlled bursts. Each beam found a target, Dravic carriers, destroyers, interceptors, tearing them apart with ruthless accuracy. The way it fought was unlike anything Daniel had ever seen. No hesitation, no miscalculation, no wasted movement. It was as though the ship knew exactly where to strike to cause the most destruction. Ethan, flying among the fighters, caught a close view as the strange ship loomed above him. He felt his fighter shake from the energy discharge, his cockpit filling with blinding light. "It's fighting with us," he breathed into his comm. "It's fighting for Earth." The squadron around him cheered, courage filling their voices. The tide of battle began to turn. On the Valor's bridge, Laura struggled to keep up with the tactical readouts. Enemy losses mounted at an impossible rate. "Captain, their formations are collapsing. That ship is dismantling them like it already knows their tactics." She glanced at him, her face pale with awe. It's not just helping, it's leading. The Dravik commander's furious voice roared over open channels. Unknown vessel, identify yourself. You defy the Dravik Dominion. This is your death sentence. His threats fell empty as his ships exploded one after another under the relentless assault. Panic spread through his fleet. Order broke down. Ships veered off course, colliding, retreating in disarray. Daniel watched it all, his jaw set. Gratitude warred with unease in his chest. Why now? He muttered to himself. Why not before? The bridge crew pretended not to hear the doubt in his voice, but the question lingered in every mind. Then the unknown ship shifted closer, its silver hull glowing brighter as if acknowledging the valor. For a heartbeat, Daniel swore the light pulsed in rhythm, almost like a heartbeat answering their own. No words came this time, but its presence spoke louder than language. It was here, and for now it was choosing humanity's side. The Dravik broke, retreating in fragments. But the humans did not cheer yet, not while the mysterious ship still loomed near, its silence heavier than the thunder of battle. The battlefield turned into chaos as the Dravik lines fractured under the combined assault. Human warships surged forward, railguns blazing, torpedoes streaking through the dark, while the mysterious vessel carved paths of destruction with surgical precision. For the first time in hours, hope spread across the fleet. Ethan's squadron pressed the attack with renewed courage, weaving between alien fire and striking at vulnerable targets. Push them back, he shouted, his voice alive with energy. The other pilots answered with laughter, cheers, and determination. Every maneuver was sharper, every missile more confident. They no longer felt like prey, they felt unstoppable. On the Valor's bridge, Laura guided the fleet with steady hands. Concentrate fire on their carrier group. Don't let them regroup. Her orders spread across the channels, bringing unity to the chaos. Human frigates darted between enemy cruisers, destroying them piece by piece. For every strike from the Dravik, 2 more fell against them. The tide of war had shifted, and all could feel it. The enemy commander's voice cut in once more, no longer arrogant but desperate. Fall back! Regroup! His orders cracked with panic. He had entered the battle certain of victory, but now half his fleet was burning wreckage scattered across orbit. His soldiers, once feared across the stars, were breaking. Daniel stood tall at the center of the bridge, his voice commanding. Press them hard. Don't let them escape without paying. The Valor roared forward, its guns pounding an enemy battleship until it collapsed in fire. The crew shouted in triumph, their fear forgotten, their courage reignited. Through it all, the mysterious ship fought like something ancient and unshakable. It moved with an elegance no human craft could match, its beams slicing through Dravik formations as though the outcome had always been known. Every strike felt less like chance and more like destiny. Laura whispered under her breath, "It's like it was waiting for this moment." The Dravik faltered completely, their formations disintegrated, their surviving ships scattering into the void. What had begun as an invasion now resembled a rout. Humanity, battered but unbroken, had turned despair into defiance and defiance into victory. Yet amid the cheers of human crews and pilots, Daniel's eyes lingered on the silent ally. Its glowing hull dimmed slightly, its weapons cooling as if its task was finished. Relief spread through his ship, but Daniel's chest remained heavy. This wasn't just a victory, it was a message. Someone, or something, had chosen to tip the balance, and if it could save Earth so easily, then it could just as easily decide to destroy it. Wreckage drifted in silence, glowing embers of ruined ships painting the void. The Dravik retreat was chaotic, their cruisers vanishing into hyperspace trails one after another, leaving behind only shattered husks and the ghosts of their arrogance. Across the human fleet, cheers erupted. Shouts of triumph, laughter of survival, voices that had not believed they would live to see another dawn. On the Valor, the bridge crew clapped shoulders. Some even wept. Laura allowed herself a single deep breath, her steady voice finally softening. They're gone. Earth is safe. For a moment, those words felt like truth, like an ending. Yet Daniel did not smile. His eyes remained locked on the vast, silent form that still hovered at the edge of the battlefield. The mysterious ship lingered, its hull glowing faintly as though considering something unseen. It did not fire again, did not move to pursue the fleeing Dravik. Instead, It drifted closer to Earth, turning slowly as if examining the blue planet it had just helped defend. For a few heartbeats, it seemed to watch, not the fleet, but humanity itself. Ethan's voice crackled over comms, quieter now. It saved us. It saved Earth. The awe in his tone was shared by every pilot still alive, yet beneath it lay unease. No one understood why it had intervened, nor what it might demand in return. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the great vessel dimmed. Its silver surface shimmered, bending light around itself until its massive shape blurred. Within seconds, it was gone, cloaked once more in the shadows of the void. Only empty stars remained as though it had never been there at all. The cheers across the fleet grew uncertain, fading into silence. Victory was theirs, but it carried the weight of mystery. Laura spoke in a hushed tone, almost to herself. We won, but at what cost? Daniel said nothing. He stood unmoving, his gaze fixed on the place where the ship had vanished. Earth was safe, but questions now loomed larger than the battle itself. Who were they? Why had they chosen to fight alongside humans? And would they return when the next war came or when their own purpose demanded it? In the quiet aftermath, as wreckage drifted and Earth's blue glow shone against the black, one truth became clear. Humanity was not alone in the galaxy. An ally, or perhaps a judge, had revealed itself. And the next time it returned, it might not be as a savior.